Yo. So if you are like me, and I certainly hope that you're not, uh, you may have heard and wondered about this thing that you keep hearing about called making and selling beats. Here I am. No, I don't mean drum loops or 808 sounds or beats or what drum machine you use. I am talking about beats. What are they? You hear it all the time, especially from younger artists, beat makers, and rappers. I hear this all the time from students who walk into my class and say, "What do you do?" "I make beats," or "I'm a rapper." And "I'm a rapper" usually means they download beats and rap over them. Or I write songs, and then writing songs actually means they're just getting these beats. And we're going to talk about that today. But again, I don't mean a beat like 1, 2, 3, 4. If I look online and say, "What is a beat?" It says beats are the periodic and repeating fluctuations heard in the intensity. I'm not talking about science about what a beat is. We're not talking about that. We're talking about beats that people are making, leasing, and selling online. We're going to define it today. And in some cases, not just making online income, but even getting top 100 hits, publishing deals, and possibly superstardom. We talk about all kinds of music income on this channel, but beats could be maybe one of them that we could add to our list of different things you could be doing while you're doing licensing, while you're doing Spotify, while you're doing all the other things. But today we are going to find out definitively about beats because, and there's no way I'm going to pull this off, but we not only have me here today, but we also have one of the top online influencers and a man who sells and makes and sells beats himself. And he's one of the top guys in the sync licensing space. And let me tell you, folks, this is gonna be dope. Hold on.
Drop the beat, E-Money. Let's go.
There's too many things. I ruined it. Drop the beat. Well, let's try it. I'll try it. See, this is what happens when you're live, folks. Because you got to open this and then you got to play it and then you get that. So that's not help. All right, I'm going to skip it. I am so happy to be joined here today by, I'll fix it for the podcast. It'll rock on the podcast, man. It'll just be so hilarious. All right, let me go back to me and add you in here with me, my friend Clint. Thank you for joining me today on the Make Music Income podcast. Welcome, everybody, to episode 80 of the Make Music Income podcast, where we talk about how to make music income of all kinds, including sync licensing and non-exclusive licensing and artist income, music publishing and royalties. We're going to get into that today a little bit, music production, and yes, even beats. My name is Eric Copeland, and I have literally made a whole lifetime, just like this guy has, and of music income life. And yeah, I worked in corporate. I think you worked in corporate at one point, didn't you, Clint?
Yep.
And so I did too. And so I thought, who better to really help us understand and define beats and have a good conversation about beats than someone who is also in the sync space that you guys are so familiar with, and just kind of, we can talk about both of those things today. But this is no stranger to you guys who watch this channel. You see his channel as well, Mr. Anthony Clint Jr. of Clint Music. Man, thanks so much for joining me today.
Eric, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it and excited to talk about it, man. Talk about beats and sync and all of that dope stuff, man. So,
by the way, today I'd like to be called E-Money.
E-Money. You're E-Money today.
I am E-Money today. So on today's show, with Clint's help, we're going to uncover what beats are for those who don't know. And let's make sure. By the way, today I'd like to sound looks good. You have to kind of watch your own sound. Sometimes I have to watch the thing and make sure it's working the way I want. But for those who don't know, how to start out making and selling beats, how to make music income from it. Listen, this is everybody acts like everybody knows about beats,
Right.
And I think it's a little like non-exclusive libraries or sync licensing. It's one of those things you don't know about until someone talks to you about it.
Right.
And then you start investigating the world. And so I want to just talk about that, how it works with other things like content ID and PROs and royalties and sync licensing and non-exclusive licensing. How does it mix with all that? Because I know there's some weirdnesses there. So I really want to talk about that. But so, a lot of people in the house. Luca is in the house, yes, and says, yo, 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 bros. Okay. And Arco is in the house. I think you've seen Arco before.
What's up, Arco? Yes.
ISO is in the house as well today. GR Johnson is in the house. If you know any of these folks, feel free. Nishu, I thought you would bring a producer who sells his beats on Beatstars. Well, I actually did, as a matter of fact. So yeah, I do have a DM out to DJ Payne 1, by the way, but you know, probably not going to hear back from DJ Payne, but maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
Be another great guy to talk to.
Indeed.
But I really wanted you first, just because you know you do this kind of stuff. And speaking of what you do, tell me a little bit about your week. What has been going on with your week this week?
Yeah, it's been a crazy week, busy week. Let's see. Been getting hit with briefs like from for sports stuff. So I'm sure you probably seen them too. CBS is circling around and want a ton of music. So that knocking out a lot of video content. Just did a breakdown on my channel of a recent placement on one of Italy's, I think it's like the first Italian reality show on Netflix, Summer Job.
Wow.
So yeah, just did a breakdown on that. And just planning, we got a big update as far as the Shades of Sync conference that me and Jay Will are working on for in November. So got a huge update on that, and we'll be posting that on social media soon. So, man, just kind of, you know, just working on the briefs, working on the content, and you know, just working on giving people value, man, and helping them out.
That's awesome. Somebody said to me at one point, why do you do this? Why do you teach? Why don't you just work all the time? If you can compose all the time, why don't you just compose all the time? And I can. But I think this whole kind of like channel stuff, once you start doing it from our perspective, it becomes less. Yeah, we try to monetize a little bit because we spend a lot of time on it. But at the same time, would we rather just be making like beats all the time or making music all the time? Maybe, but you know what? You need breaks from making music sometimes.
You do. Yeah.
You can't make music 24 hours a day. You will burn out and you will not like music anymore. Yeah. So and then also the other part is that you get a little bit like used to helping people and answering questions, and it feels good. You know, we're both educators, and that there's a bit of a high in helping people. You know,
especially. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I feel like, you know, anytime something has helped your career and has changed your life, usually you want to talk about that. You know what I mean? Like you want to share that with somebody and say, hey, this is what's helped me. It could possibly help you too. And I don't know, man. I want to share it. You know what I mean? And you know, I feel like when you know something can help somebody else, especially when you're seeing, you know, they're struggling to make income with their music, or they're struggling to figure out ways to, you know, to get in front of people who may want to use their music and pay them for their music, and you know some information that can help them, if you're a halfway decent person, you should probably want to help them out.
For sure.
So that's what it is, man. And there's nothing more rewarding than seeing someone take some information you share and actually put it into action, and it gives them results, man. It's a great feeling for sure.
Yeah. And and you have lots of great results from people, and people are. It's just it's just one of those things. You're probably like me. I watched a lot of YouTube, and before I started this channel, I would just say, that's interesting what Clint is saying, or what Jesse is saying, or what Stevie B was saying, or whatever. But I'm having different results. And so I just got on and said, okay, this is what I'm seeing. And I think there's room for anybody who wants to do that. Anybody wants to jump on YouTube, talk about it, put it on Instagram, whatever, make TikToks about it, and show us what you're doing. And it's not about the money, man. YouTube is not going to pay you $1 billion. If you want to make money, you have to do services for people and stuff like that. You're not going to just make a lot of money off YouTube ads.
Yeah, you'll
But
burn
yeah, you will. All right. Well, I have been a busy bee this week as well. I have been producing also for some sports stuff. I had a library come to me and say, we need, college football stuff. And they gave me a very specific type of thing to do. So I'm working on that right now. And then also the other album I have then these are both albums. And the other one is a Christmas one. And so they still want it, and so I gotta knock it out this month. It's like last call.
Yeah.
I last week I did a thing for those people who watched last week, and I did a thing where I said some new things I was going to try, and one of them was the old switch all my Pawn 5 stuff back to $5. It was up like $50 or $60, and I'd had a few sales, but then I had a completely dead month, and so. I went back to $5 on everything, and the next day had a sale immediately. And so, there's something weird with that algorithm where if you change your prices around, you get moved around. I think, who knows really.
Yeah.
The other cool thing that's happening in non-exclusive stuff is that Audio Jungle. If you are an Audio Jungle person, I put 3 songs up in the morning, and that afternoon they were approved.
Wow.
In like hours. It used to take days, or weeks, actually, to get stuff approved there. Not that it matters. It's also a pretty dry place, but everybody holds out the hope that one day they might get put into Envato Elements, and that's really more of a happening library, I think.
Yeah.
Also started about 8 or 10 songs into this musicrevolution.com place. A few people have told me they've made some money there, so they accepted the songs, and now it's beep, 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 back that dump truck up and dump all those tracks in there, those non-exclusive ones that are in all the other non-exclusive places, just dump them all in. I'm thinking about getting some interns to help me just upload, because I just don't have the time to fill out all the things.
That's what I do.
Do you do that?
Yeah. I have a VA where she helps with all of that, the metadata, the upload. Man, it takes a load off because we like to create, so it's just like we rather do more creating than typing in spreadsheets and websites and stuff.
I think there could be more pennies that could come from other places if I would have someone put them all up into all the places that make pennies or dollars. It's not going to be what other incomes are, but I've made like 10 grand off non-exclusive stuff over the past 2.5 years. It's not nothing, so. I had a great, interesting interview with an artist this week, and his name is Asher Laub, and I'm not kidding you. 6 figures, 200 plus dates a year. He is a breakdancing and DJ, get ready, violinist.
Wow.
So imagine Lindsey Sterling, who also dances and or DJs.
Wow. That's impressive. So, playing the violin while breakdancing at the same time?
Yeah.
Wow.
He got a YouTube channel with 15,000 subscribers. He's got 37,000 Instagram followers and 200 dates a year. Corporate events, all sorts of things. It's because he's got that unique, weird thing. That they say, oh, that'd be cool. Let's get that here.
Wow.
So let's see what else this week. I've been editing a neighboring rights video. I talked to a guy, just like this video where I'm talking to the guy. I talked to a guy at a neighboring rights, specifically at a neighboring rights company. He's in Europe. You may know him. He's in Prague. But and I've been doing some investigating with Sound Exchange about neighboring rights, because they say they collect neighboring rights, but turns out it's not exactly true, because I emailed them and they emailed me back. So I'm going to talk about this in this video. It's the next video coming out when I get time to finish editing it. And then I just turned out 3 Jimmy Buffett tunes for another one of my libraries. Just came to me and said, I need these real fast. And so I'm waiting to find a right vocalist. If you know a Jimmy Buffett vocalist, let me know. I'm looking on Sound Better right now. and hoping to find somebody. And then I actually did a mariachi tune kind of this week as well.
Really?
So
How was that? Was that first time or?
it's not no. No, yes, it's the first time for me, and this isn't really true mariachi, but I would like. I don't think you can really program mariachi perfectly. I don't know. Have
Yeah.
you ever done it?
No, like I've done like I've seen requests for like Italian hip hop, like the fusion kind of stuff, the fusion genres. I'm a piano, but no mariachi, and yeah, because I feel like that, like you need some genuine instrumentation,
To me,
to
that's like recording bluegrass. You would just
yeah,
have to have the players there,
yep,
and just they are all in a room, and you just mic them up, and you do your best you can. There's not, you don't want it to be too good, and
yeah,
so, but the song is called Chimichanga, so I kind of went that way with it. But
nice.
so yeah, got a new class starting on Monday. I teach at a local school here, and I just finished a class, and move them on to the level 3, which is the studio side, and they start
Okay.
working in the with the board and all that kind of stuff. And I'll get new recruits back in on Monday who are all beat makers, as it turns
Nice.
out. Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's see. And I got back-to-back podcasts. So much going on this week, but it is time for a little something, Clint. I don't know if you've been part of our podcast here before, but and this is something I started just recently. But this is a little something I call the news. That's right. Friday, August 11th, the news that matters. So I saw this article, and I'm going to attempt to share it again.
That was the perfect Newsy soundtrack, by the
I
way.
don't know why I made that. I made that years ago for something,
It's
and
perfect.
and yeah. So I think you could see this. Google and Universal, and this was actually Jesse shouted this out the other day. Google and Universal are already starting the whole thing about licensing people's music or licensing their artists. They're licensing their artists. Let me just read this. So the rise of deep audio deepfakes in conjunction with generative AI has raised concerns within the music industry about ownership and reputational harm. So basically, what they are doing, the discussion is the goal is to develop a tool for fans to create these tracks legitimately and pay the owners of the copyrights for it. So what's happening is they're basically saying, like a lot of the libraries these days, they're saying, how can we, how can we let people do deep fakes and make money for the artist with it? In other words,
Yeah.
let's just make it a new thing. It's like giving into streaming. It's like giving into downloads. It's like giving into MP3s, all the things they at first didn't want to do and finally did.
Hmm.
And I think after the whole Napster thing, you've seen them try to be earlier adopters on things, the
Yep.
music industry in general. And I think you've got a lot of things going on here with all, and they're not the only ones. I think they're all the label. I think Warner is also. I think in the article said Warner is also looking at it. And I found this article all over the place. It's big news everywhere.
Wow.
What are your thoughts on this as a person who I mean, I personally, I'm not a big worrier about AI, so I don't talk about it much on this channel.
Hmm.
But I think it's interesting that that they're going to just allow this. So the Drake Weekend thing that happened recently, you could go through channels just like you can to cover a song.
Hmm.
I mean, what are your thoughts?
And use their voice. So I think it potentially could be a slippery slope. I understand both sides. I understand the side of taking something that people are going to do anyway and figuring out a way to monetize that, because rightfully so, they should be monetized if you're using, someone's, name, image, and likeness, and even if it's music, lyrical content, their intellectual property, they should be compensated for it. On the other hand, me as a brand owner, I would be concerned about what people are creating and then attaching my name to, because, I wouldn't want like any old thing just kind of floating out there and saying, this is something Clint produced, or this is something that Clint wrote, or you know what I mean? And that could, I could see how that could, potentially tarnish someone's reputation, because it gets harder and harder to tell if someone actually created this stuff or not. So I could definitely see the slippery slope there. But yeah, like it's I don't know, interesting times, man, with with AI, and I think everyone's trying to figure out how to maximize it, and also how to kind of stay protected in terms of their intellectual property.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I just thought it was interesting. And, Jesse does a lot of talk on his channel about AI and how it's going to affect the sync industry. And I know that one of my library owners is already talking about how they're going to develop some AI tools and things like that for their clients. So people are trying to get ahead of it. For me as a composer, I don't worry about it that much, just because I've been through a lot of changes. For those of us who went through the 70s and 80s, we've gone from the dark ages to the light. And so we're used to tools that were like, what? Melodyne? What does it do? Are you kidding me? Or Autotune even, but even going back to DAWs in general,
The internet,
the
like,
internet.
I mean,
Is AI going to be bigger than the internet?
that's a pretty big thing, man, to live through and see the evolution of that. Like,
For sure.
man, yeah.
So that's an interesting news item. We'll have more news in a minute, but I want to get to free stuff. Did you know, and that's way too big, did you know we have free stuff for you at the site? I do. I'm going to put this over for you for a minute, Clint. Just sorry. Cool. But yeah, if you go to makemusicincome.com/free, I have a new ebook. Let's see what makes the most. I think I mentioned Beats in my ebook, 50 Ways to Make Music Income, and you can see that in here. I have an ebook, and I mention it in there, but there's lots of ways, and that's why we're talking about Beats today. Beats is kind of one of the. It's not a thing that I've talked about because I'm not involved in it personally, and that's why I wanted to bring. I mean, I want to be, but I just got to figure out how I can be. You know what I mean? So that's why I got a lot of questions to ask. But if you're interested, folks, just go to makemusicincome.com/free and get yourself some free stuff. It's totally free. So back to the news. And I just have to keep playing this because, I made it. I might as well get some use out of it. And there are actually people who get mad if I don't play the news theme now. If I don't play
the theme.
Yeah. I love the theme. Thanks for playing the theme. The other thing on the news today that I just wanted to touch on real quick was I was looking at I love to look at the stats at the RIAA. I don't know if you pay much attention to that, but I love to look at this particular chart, which was music consumption. I thought was really cool. Now, this is last year's data because they'll do data every half year, and then they'll do a full year. So we haven't gotten, it's August. They should be coming out with the first part of 2023, all this data that they come out with. Yeah. Let me turn this off. But I thought it was pretty interesting in this chart that when you get down here to favorite genres, for overall favorite genre number one is classic rock, which I thought is really interesting, that classic rock is the number one, followed by rap and hip hop, which is no surprise, and country, which is surprisingly popular everywhere. If you look at Gen Z, you come down here and you can see that rap and hip hop is number one, which again, not surprising, R&B next, and alternative indie rock, which none of that is a surprise for Gen Z. Same thing with millennials. If you look at millennials, rap and hip hop, followed by country and R&B. And then as you get into Gen X, which they're the old folks now. They used to be the young folks. Y'all used to be the young folks. Unfortunately, I don't fall in this category. Classic rock, country, and hard rock and metal. And then for everyone, baby boomers like me, classic rock, country, and adult soft pop, which I don't listen to any of those. But I just thought that was an interesting kind of thing, and it breaks everything down by race and gender and the kinds of things they buy. You know, how many people are using social media for music, how many people are buying vinyl, and how many people are buying CDs. And there's a bigger percentage of CD buyers than vinyl buyers. Just saying. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what it's saying.
I thought it would be the other way around. Wow.
Yeah. Well, this guy I was talking to that did the breakdancing violinist, dude has selling CDs at his shows still.
Really?
Because he goes, what else are you going to sell besides merch? And so he doesn't really have anything else to sell. And plus, it's something he can sign. And vinyl is totally just something for people to put on their walls.
Yeah,
I think I ask a question with every class. I'll say, how many people like vinyl or collect vinyl? And 5 or 6 people raise their hand. I'll say, how many people have a record player? And then half of them will pull their hands down because they collect vinyl and they love vinyl, but they can't play it. Lucas says Gen X rules. Okay, well, maybe so. It seems so. Actually, the stats on this channel, believe it or not, are, I don't know about yours, but people watching this video are 25 to 35. I don't know who.
It's about the same, like 25 to, I'm up around 44.
Yeah, that's the next group. Gen X it's like 25 to 44 is 35 is the first group, and then the next 10 years is the next group, and it completely falls off on either side, really. A little bit. So Arco, I'm going to just address this real quick. Arco says, special thanks to Eric Copeland from Make Music Income. I got my visa yesterday, and now I'm surely going to the UK. It's only a matter of boarding a flight. Arco is getting ready to go from India to the UK and go to music school, go to university there.
That's huge.
And,
congrats.
Yeah, he has already gone to school in India, but now he's going to a music-based focused program in the UK. I think it's in Oxford, if I'm not mistaken. And Arco, you've probably seen Arco in your streams before. Young man is after it. Let me tell you, really working hard.
No excuses, man. I mean, I come across so many people, even like just here in the States, and I guess that's the reason I say I make music, not excuses, because first off, you live in the States, like there's plenty of opportunity here, but there's people who are in other countries who may not have access to a lot of the things that we may have, a lot of the programs, a lot of the universities or schools that specialize in audio, but somehow they still figure it out. I know a composer who's composed on amazing projects, animated projects, was literally like born in the middle of a war in the Middle East and like figured out how to make it over to the States, and now he's a successful composer. So you can make it happen if you really want it. So that's inspiring. Shout out to Arco.
Yeah, shout out Arco. Thank you so much. And always one of the first guys in the chat, and just we really appreciate all of you guys who kind of hang out and listen and give us comments. And so all right, so moving on here, it's time for, I do not have a funny thing for this, so I just kind of do this. That's all I do for viewer mail, because I don't have a funny viewer. At some point, when I have a minute, I'm going to make a viewer mail theme song. Nice. I once made a viewer mail theme song for Tony Kornheiser, who is a sports guy on ESPN. I don't know if you know those guys. And he was doing a contest. He goes, whoever can send us I was just making, this was back when I first started like 20 years ago, and I was just working in my studio, and I would listen to his show all the time, his radio show. There wasn't a podcast then. And he said, and I just decided to send him a podcast. I made this stupid little like podcast about his show, and he played it on the air, which was funny, but
really, wow.
He didn't have good things to say about it. Or he was just being him. He's kind of a snarky guy.
Yeah.
All right, so I do want to get to viewer mail, though, because I have an interesting question that I saved for you, because somebody sent me an email, and oh my, I have to find my email now. But he sent me an email, and I wanted to talk about it live here because I thought the question was really good.
Okay.
And let me see if I can find this. So, Clint, tell us about what's new with you as far as what's going on with your products and stuff. Anything new out there that you got going on?
So I'm working on something. Um, I'm working on something.
Okay.
I don't think I.
Secret. It's a secret project.
Yeah. So with I'm working on sharing things as far as the whole AI space and how we can
Oh,
kind of improve the workflow as producers, and how I'm using some of these things even in sync licensing. So I'm just kind of organizing it, and then I think I think I'm going to share it with the producer community, because I think it can help a lot of people. So that's what I've been doing, as far as just product wise. um yeah, and just been coaching. I'm coaching my fourth group of TV placement mastery students. So we're trying to get them their first licensing deal in 12 weeks.
sure.
So we're like right in the middle of that. And next Friday, I will actually be doing my Beats for TV Live free master class.
Nice.
So that is like 4 hours straight of just talking about sync. So it's gonna be super fun. We had a good time. The last one we did in March. So
Cool.
those are things I've kind of been working on, man.
Thank you. Well, yeah, everybody go to Clint's channel. I'm going to put all that. I haven't put the links down in the channel, but y'all know where Clint's channel is. Come on. You're watching it. I don't have to put it in there. I will put it down there. But anyway, this is from a fellow named Norman who emailed me, and I told him I wanted to talk about a few of these things. You probably can't read that very well, but I'll throw it up there anyway. But it was question number 3 and 4. He said, I know they always say to use only songs with universal lyrics. And I understand the reason, but I do hear, and when he says they, he means people who are talking about sync and
Okay.
licensing type things. But I do
Okay.
hear things in TV programs that have, shall we say, strange and unusual lyrics which add to the atmosphere being created. Do you have any advice on mysterious lyric credits? Now, I know both of us create a lot of instrumental music for TV, probably more than I actually create a lot of vocal music for my libraries because they want it. I
Okay.
don't know how much you do,
Yep.
but what's your thoughts on strange and unusual lyrics versus happy, positive lyrics like we were taught when we first got into sync and said, all the commercials want positive stuff and all this kind of stuff.
Right. So I guess the approach I take is, I'm not going to veer away from what works, right? And historically, broad lyrics, ambiguous lyrics that apply to multiple situations have worked, and they continue to work. So my focus is to create and focus more on those types of songs, especially as briefs come in and that's what they're asking for. And then occasionally, if you're feeling creative, make a few of those songs. My approach is, if I'm not working off of a brief, I'm going to create something that I know works.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then if I receive a brief that's asking for something specific, something weird or just kind of different, then at that point, that's when I'll spend the time to create something, because one, I know someone's looking for it. And number two, if it comes around now, it could come around again. This is something that I can have in my catalog. And then depending on how well that does, I may go back and create a few more like it. But my main goal is to make the best use of my time when I'm creating. I don't want to spend a lot of time on something that I don't think is going to get used or requested a lot. So
Yeah.
that's how I usually approach it.
Yeah, and it depends on who you are. I probably less than someone like you or Dave or some of the other guys or Jesse in this space. Probably, I probably watch briefs the least, and I pay because I don't have. I mean, unless my library owners come to me and say we need this, and then
Yeah.
I'll do that. But I'm not a brief watcher or a brief responder. I don't like get a bunch of briefs and stuff like that, or I don't go looking for them. That's why Taxi didn't work out for me, because eventually I create, my tagline, the intro, the make music income intro that you didn't get to see now says make music you love and then make music income, and so I tend to create the songs I have in my head. But if I know I want to put together an album that's going to do well for songs that are going to be on Lifetime movies and stuff like that and get used in those kind of things. I'm going to write a bunch of love songs that are very innocuous and can be used on 1,000 different scenes rather than, something specific and weird and strange. But sometimes you get those calls that they say we need something that's kind of weird and kind of
Yeah.
strange, and so I do those albums. Those are just harder to sell to
Yep.
libraries because they're like, I don't see a lot of specific uses for those, I mean, or it's really specific. It's like you have a relationship with music supervisors and you happen to know that they are looking for a specific thing like that. And it's really weird. And so
Right.
that's my answer to that. And then his other ones, he says, you always refer to songs. And I take that to include instrumentals and instrumentals to include cues. Would you treat songs and instrumentals differently at all?
As far as
I think this is in the world still of TV type music. I when I say song, I mean a song that it could have it could be a vocal, it could be not a vocal.
yeah.
And cues probably are not going to have vocals mostly.
Yeah, if I'm using the term cue, I'm thinking instrumental, the minute and a half, 2 minutes, instrumental cue. And then, yeah, if I'm using the term songs within the world of, honestly, within all worlds, usually a song, if I say song, I'm meaning something that has lyrics.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, well, it's like the difference when we talk about in at the school, and I talk to them about the difference between a songwriter and a composer. Well,
mm,
most of the time we're going to think of a composer composing music only, not necessarily something with lyrics,
yep,
versus a songwriter, which we're going to assume they're writing a song with lyrics. So
right.
I think you can look at songs and instrumentals as differently, but I abs- all the things I was talking about, the Jimmy Buffett songs, the mariachi song, those are all songs with lyrics, and so yeah, there's definitely a lot of songs going on and not just instrumentals. But this kind of brings us. One of the reasons I did this. This is by design. It brings us to this thing today. Speaking of instrumentals and speaking of songs, and this is one of the questions I have about it. I can't find my notes for some reason. I want to start getting into now this this making beats thing. And one of the things I don't like about this program is that you have to really. I don't know if you use that. We don't need that. What are you up there for?
Oh, so many windows I don't use.
So many windows. Well, what I love is these. One of the things I loved about StreamYard is the fact that I could make these things and they kind of keep me on here. And so when we start to talk about making money with beats, the first thing that I want to do is I want to start trying to figure out how to define the beats. And so that's what we're going to talk about first. Is just we did this a little bit in the last time that we were together. We talked about beats a little, and oh gosh, why do I keep doing that? We talked about defining beats a little bit, but just kind of give us a one more time a definite answer for what a beat is. So when a 19-year-old comes in saying, "Man, I heard it this yesterday. I walked into the school and there's these two guys. They're both kind of new teachers at our school, and
Hmm.
they were working on a rap tune. And one was engineering, one was in the booth. And I said, "Where did he get this track?" And he says, "I think he got it from YouTube." And I'm like, so I
Oh
went and
man.
asked the guy. I was like, I found out what this means, but I was like, "What do you mean you got it from YouTube? Do you mean you got it from YouTube and then there's a link to Beatstars?" And he says, "Yes." I said, "Okay, that lets me know." But define beats for us and what a beat maker would be.
Yeah. So beats is just an instrumental. Anytime I use the term beats, or if you hear, some like, buy a beat, lease a beat, it's a full instrumental, aka full composition. It's just a different term that we use to describe that. As far as I get what was the second question? I'm sorry.
How would you define a beat maker?
Oh, beat maker. So a beat maker is someone who just focuses on creating instrumental tracks, and that it kind of stops there. You know what I mean? Sometimes we use a producer, beat maker. A producer can make a beat. Sometimes a producer doesn't make a beat, and
Hmm.
he puts all the pieces together, the musicians and things, and produces, an instrumental or a song using other talent. But a beat maker usually more so electronic based, DAW based, or MPC, like drum machine based, sampler based. You'll see that as well. But yeah, that's pretty much all it is. It's just creating instrumentals.
And is beats how you got started? Did you get started doing beats, or did you add that in?
Yes. So I was a musician first. I was a musician first, and then I got into making beats. Man, like around 15. So for me, it was man, honestly, earlier than that, because there was this thing on PlayStation. It was called Music Generator. So in middle
I
school,
remember.
I had Music Generator, and you can move around loops and just kind of create your own thing. Now, at that time, I was
Yeah.
trying to be a rapper, and that didn't really work out for me. So, um, I circled back around in middle school, going into high school, and um, a friend of mine came across this program. It was like $10 at Best Buy. It was called Magic's Music Maker.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was really what kind of took everything off, with just, arranging loops and making beats and stuff with the loops that was in that program. And then at 16 I started, playing keys. I was a drummer first, so 16 I started playing keys. And then from there it transitioned to kind of making beats on the keyboard, using the sounds on there, and then I would transfer it to the computer and structure everything out and all that stuff. And that was kind of like the evolution for me. And it was all instrumental stuff. Did a did a couple albums of me rapping and whatnot. Yeah, man. And then I realized I really fell in love with the art and process of production, and just putting sounds together and turning it into something that people enjoy listening to. So I just kept doing that through high school, through college. I would just make beats, just because it was fun to do. And then I started implementing that musicianship, with the beats. And then from there started creating music for artists. And then that's when it turned into, full blown producer. We're not
Yeah.
just making tracks now. Now we're instructing the artists and trying to bring the best performance out of them. Making sure the recording sounds good, making sure just that bridge between the engineer and the artist, and what we want the recording to sound like. That's when I started getting into, just producing full songs.
Cool.
um so yeah, so now I do a little bit of everything, man. I can make a beat, I can score something to picture, I can produce a full song. But that was kind of like the evolution for me.
So I hear you talk about a lot of times on your channel that if you create something and it doesn't get a bite at a library, or for whatever reason it doesn't make it into the sync world, you can just throw it into your beats world. So I imagine you're on Beatstars and other places like Airbit or something like that.
Yeah, have a store on Beatstars, Airbit, and yeah, I think I use those stores primarily because I like to produce a lot of like R&B, neo soul stuff. Um, I don't get a lot of requests for that stuff. Oh, I get more so R&B, hip hop requests a lot in sync, but the slower ballad kind of stuff don't see a lot of, but I love to create that.
Hmm.
So the beat stores is kind of my outlet to get, those slower ballads and those neo soul and R&B and trap soul tracks out of my system, and
Gotcha.
then send them off to artists who may not have huge budgets, like some of the major artists out there,
Sure.
to pay $5,000-$10,000 for a track. So yeah.
So, with everything else you got going on, your licensing stuff and this channel and other stuff, where does Beats fall percentage wise? Do you make any income of it that is worth not dollars, but percentage
Yeah.
wise of income? Does it make a dent?
It doesn't it went down over the years, mostly because I haven't posted a lot of like me creating the beats, especially on social media. But when I used to post of just like, the process of creating the beat, it was mostly, I'll say like 2019, 2020
Hmm.
maybe. I did a lot more. So my sales on those stores were definitely up. I'll still get one occasionally. Percentage wise, maybe I'll say now like 5%
Okay,
maybe
fair.
of everything. Yeah.
And because folks, this is one of those things that there are people who get into non-exclusive licensing, to stock libraries or something like that, and they really focus on it. And there are people who have made thousands of dollars a month on that. Sometimes, even now, you got people who are making money on Motion Array or Artlist or something, and they're making some dough with that, but. That's because they concentrate on it mostly, and
Yeah,
in listening to the podcast and watching the videos I've watched, that it's the same in the beats world. The people who are making money on it probably don't do anything else. They
exactly.
focus only on making beats, and they put videos out on YouTube, and they tag them, and they do what they call type beats, which I could not understand what they were saying on the podcast. I was like, tight beats or type beats? And then I just
Yeah.
went to YouTube and looked at their channels, and it says a trap type beat or Meek Mill type beat or something like that. And
Yeah.
it's a way that people can search for a beat of a certain artist they like and look for a type beat. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
if you type in on YouTube, the first thing it says is type beat,
Yeah.
and so you can go there and find it. And so they are doing their own Instagram and all that kind of stuff, and it's all geared towards here's my newest beat, and and then just and they're doing ads for traffic, to get people to their YouTube pages so that people can find them on YouTube because it's the second biggest search engine that there is, and then
Yeah.
they can go to their BeatStars and lease their track or whatever. However, it seems to me that most of these people are in the hip hop space that I look at that are is there a percentage of beat stars and people who do beats successfully
Mm.
that fall in a genre? Would you say what is hip hop that percentage of? That's a terrible way to ask that question. What percentage of beat stars would you say is hip hop based?
Man, I'll say a
Like
large percentage of hip
80?
hop because man, 80, maybe even higher. I would
Wow.
say, yeah, I would hit 90 at least, just because, I mean, if you look at everything else, when we were looking at the RIAA stats,
Mm-hmm.
hip hop being, one of the top genres. You look at, the Billboard charts, you're going to see hip hop on there at the top. Even in sync licensing, you look at a lot of requests, a lot of music that's being used in ads and things like that. A lot of it is hip hop driven now. So I feel like naturally, when you have a genre of music that is popular, it's the current pop music, and something that's requested, you're going to see that trend in every platform and market, because people know that that's what people are liking, that's what people are buying. So yeah, I definitely think it's a large percentage. And I also know, some producers who do more like tropical stuff still kind of has has hip hop drums and stuff like
Like
that.
Afro beat maybe or something
Afrobeat,
like
yep,
that.
yep. So all of that stuff is
EDM
hot on
maybe,
there as
EDM
well.
and all forms of electronic music maybe, or
Yeah,
again, maybe we should talk about the type of person who's going there to lease beats, and those are probably rappers
yep. You got rappers, you
or
got
hip
R and
hop
B
artists.
singers as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. Hip hop, R&B. So yeah,
Are you making beats that are 2 minutes to 3 minutes tops? Is that what the length is on beats?
I'm still around that 2.5. Yeah, for an
Because
instrumental, because
that's
I
pop
think
music.
yeah, I think a lot of the ones on there, yeah, I would have like a third verse on there, or a bridge on some of them. So yeah,
And I hear sometimes they have vocals on them or they have vocal tags and things like that. And we'll talk about tags in a minute, but they have vocals on them that are like in the chorus or something like that sometimes, or what?
Yep. You can have a hook, so it'd be like a beat with a hook, meaning you kind of have a vocalist or even a rapper just with a hook, so that the artist can come in. The hook is already there to inspire them for the idea, and then they'll just go in, fill in the verses, maybe do some ad libs on the hook or something like that. So yeah, that I think that's a way also to kind of increase the value in marketing of a particular track as well, is throwing a hook on there and kind of showing the artist, hey, this is what this could sound like, and give you the vibe that you're looking for.
And also, do you when you sign up for when you put a song up to Beatstars, are you automatically putting stems up, or do you wait to do that if someone pays a higher price?
Yeah, you automatically put the stems up, because the cool thing about a platform like BeatStars or Airbit is that you want it to be completely automated for the most part. Once you upload it, it takes care of the agreements, it takes care of the stems. You upload your stems and things like that, so that when someone comes and they say, "Hey, I want this track, I want these rights," and it has your different tier pricing and things like that, it's completely automated to where you create the beat, you upload it, and upload the stems you need, have your agreements and pricing set up, and then you don't really have to worry about it other than driving traffic and just making people aware that your music is available.
Arco asks, is there a specific structure for beats for making sales?
Structure as far as
I,
structuring the
I'm
actual music,
I'm
or
guessing song structure.
yeah, it's pretty close to what I do for sync. Like, I'll do short intro, verse one, hook, verse two, hook,
Now,
maybe a bridge, a short bridge, or third kind of verse, or breakdown. I know breakdowns are pretty popular now, where it's like you're not doing a whole third verse these days, and then final hook, and then yeah.
I'll say as far as structure, a lot of the rap stuff that I'm being shown by other people, and a lot of this stuff could be beats from BeatStars or just rap in general, is not really specific verse chorus. It's hard to really hear where the chorus starts and where the
Yeah,
verse ends because it's all the same 4 bar loop through the whole thing. It feels like.
yeah.
Uh, I know that's probably you're probably doing more because you're used to actual structure for
It would
sing.
drive me nuts.
Me too. I can't deal with it. They play it at school, and I'm just hearing a monotone rap over a single beat, a 4 bar loop for 2 minutes, and it to
Yeah,
me. But I know that's part of the popularity of what it is.
simplicity.
It always has been a little bit like that.
Yep.
All right. So next question, or next thing I want to talk about, which is um, income from beats, not from you, but I've talked about that you make some, but apparently there are people making 4, 5, 6 figures from beats specifically and only. I mean, they're not really focusing on anything else. How do they do that?
Yeah, seven figures even. I know my guy Gabe, from Legion Beats, surpassed like the seven-figure mark, just selling beats. Um,
Is that mainly coming from BeatStars, probably,
yeah,
and
so
individual sales, probably straight to him? But
yeah, and Gabe is a genius. Number one, we have to we have to start with that, because he brought something into the beat making world, the production world, that wasn't being done, and it was being done in other industries. It wasn't being done in ours, and that is the funnel structure of selling beats and things, and packaging them. So he kind of brought a new way to kind of present it to artists and things like that, by just creating an offer that they can't refuse. So
sure,
that's how he was able to do those kind of numbers. But with anything, it's about people knowing that you exist. Like, buying a membership to an Airbit or BeatStars, and then uploading a bunch of music is just not enough. You have to get in front of people. You have to make them interested into what you're doing, what you're creating, and just put yourself out there and market it and promote it in a way that doesn't feel like spamming people. So
hmm
I think the strategies that that I see are that work are, creating content that your target market would enjoy. So if you're making hip hop beats, trap beats, and your target is an artist, a rap artist, or any artist who would buy your beat, you should be giving that artist valuable information that can help them, whether it's recording tips or tips on how they can make money as an artist, as far as how to promote themselves, build an email list, different things that they would just find valuable on their journey, and
Right.
then pull them in, with that content, while also sprinkling what you do, showcasing what you do in a creative way, not just taking your phone and recording your computer screen and saying go buy this beat, but like literally creating a video showing you creating the beat, or do some type of breakdown explaining the concept of it, just different
Yeah,
creative
man.
ways.
DJ Payne's site is four like of his beats and
Yeah,
one like talking video, and then three or four more beats, and then talking video.
yeah.
And so I've thought about doing that on this channel and putting more of my actual music up on this channel as
Hmm.
music videos. That they won't get a lot of views, but it's more of, yeah, yeah, you can kind of do both, and it helps him as it gives them legitimacy as a beat maker if that people are also hearing their beats. And I think maybe that's something that all of us who are makers of content about these things should do more, is put
Yeah.
our beats actually up, because otherwise, that's why I started this other thing called Hello Composers, and my podcast on that, if whenever I can get to it, is only going to be about talking about composing from what I've composed and then showing my stuff there.
Yeah.
Because we have so much to talk about and people want to ask us so many questions. There's almost no time to show off any music.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
But we know we're making it, but they don't know always that we're making it.
Exactly.
All right, let's see. The next one I want to talk about. So yeah, it can be a big time income, and it could be also a side income. And that's kind of the other thing next thing I want to talk about is really how beats and licensing go together. And again, you're the man I want to talk to about this, since you're way more in the licensing space than the beat space as far as your income or your time probably spent. But I've heard. So yeah, I already talked to you about that. So beats can be a parallel income to licensing as far as you're concerned, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So obviously, if you are a hip hop creator of any kind, you should be thinking possibly or probably about both. Would you say?
Yeah, and it depends on what you really want to do. And I think, be realistic with yourself, because anything you do, anything you say yes to, is going to require some time. Um, but you can absolutely do both, in a way that they don't interfere with each other.
Yeah.
And we can talk more about
Well,
that. But
here's the way they would interfere. We're going to talk more about that for sure, because if we're talking exclusive libraries, you can't be throwing anything up to Beatstars that you're pitching to your libraries, especially ones that are already going to take it, just because you have background with them and they say, I'm just going to take what you send me because I know you. And so, but if you got to be careful, because if you put a beat out to and it's part of a list of songs you send to a new library that you're not with yet, and then they want them all, and you've already put them up on BeatStars, that could cause problems, right?
absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I always recommend, just like, if you are gonna have a beat store and have music in sync, I like to personally just keep them completely separate. That way, there's no issues on the sync side, and then everything is what it is on the beat store side.
All right. So can beats fall into what I like to call non-exclusive music that I make? This is stuff that I'm never pitching to exclusive libraries. I have made the decision. I draw a line in my head and on my libraries and in my folders and stuff. This is the stuff I'm working on for sync, and I know I'm going to be working on for sync, so it's protected. But everything else, Pond 5 stuff, my personal stuff, whatever, I can put into almost any non-exclusive thing I want. Is that the way you think of beat stores?
Absolutely. Everything that has been uploaded on my Beatstar, my VA would also upload it to all the non-exclusive, stock music
Okay.
sites and non-exclusive places. So yeah,
Okay.
just to maximize that. Yep.
Cool. Now, next question. With that said, what about Content ID and Beats? How does that work for you? Because again, I guess if you're thinking it's non-exclusive, that's all good. You can put Content ID and you can monetize that. But do you ever
Mhm.
get blowback from people, or can you just say I'll whitelist your channel, or that kind of stuff? What do you think about that?
I haven't had any issues with it. So the everything I put on the Beat Store, I also register with Song Trust, which is a publishing admin, which does Content ID
Oh,
as
okay,
well.
okay,
So yeah, so they'll collect on that stuff. The only channel I really whitelisted was my own,
yeah.
because I don't know, it's just kind of
Well, because
pointless.
people can steal Beats Easy off YouTube
Yeah,
or whatever, and so you
yeah.
got to protect yourself just like you do with stock libraries or whatever. But what about when people? Have you done any actual like buyouts with your Beats, or do you even fool with the full buyout type of thing?
Um, I I did for one because an artist wrote a song to it, um, and then no one else had leased it or anything like that. So I just made that exclusive to that artist, and then that song actually ended up getting placed on TV. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, so if it's a situation where it hasn't been licensed or anything, and we want to pitch it, or it's just been sitting up there, nothing has happened, we pull it down and then find somewhere else for it to make money for us. So
What if it's already been put into Content ID and somebody wants to buy it exclusively?
that is a good question. That at that point, I would reach out to the pub admin and say, hey, this song that's been registered with Content ID, is there any way we
Hmm.
can kind of pull this out, or
Again,
just
you could still whitelist their channel if you needed
yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah.
but there could be some complications there. That's why I was wondering. Now, I suppose these though are songs you would not, for some reason, I'm thinking that you would not put these in your PRO. Do you? Your beats?
Yes. Yep. I'll register them there as well.
You do. Okay.
Yep. Just to cover again, Song Trust, they do all of that, so it's going to end up with the PRO, Content ID, as well as all the worldwide collection societies as well.
So if somebody leases your beat, puts it on a song, and they get on, let's say Sirius XM, well, that's Sound Exchange. Or let's say they get, well, no, Sirius is still some PRO money, I think, or is it all Sound Exchange? I can't remember. I know Sound Exchange collects from Sirius, but let's say it's on TV. You're going to get the money from that, or the artist, or both, or how is that going to work?
Depends on the agreement. So for mine, it depends on how you have your agreement set up, and which license they purchase. So each tier has different rights. So your MP3, your basic lease for however much it is, may not even include broadcast rights. You may need
Mm, yeah, I got
the
you.
$200 up license or something like that to be able to get those rights. So it really depends on which license they're getting and what rights they get. Um, I personally didn't have TV film sync rights in any of my leases. In fact, I don't even have the option to buy it out or like exclusively. That's more so something that I would decide on my end personally, but I wanted to keep it all non-exclusive because I just feel like it can just turn into a headache and I don't want to have
To
to
be
go back.
honest, most of them are just putting it on SoundCloud anyway,
Exactly.
or
Exactly.
maybe YouTube. And if it's up on YouTube, and if there is ever a Content ID, you can fix that. And if
Yeah.
it's on Spotify, that's okay. They can make the pennies there if they want to make pennies at Spotify. And if it becomes a big hit, are you still tied in as the writer
Oh yeah,
in that?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. You don't give up like any rights or ownership or anything like that. So yeah, a conversation would absolutely still have to be had, with something like that.
Okay. So putting it on Spotify and all that kind of stuff, and any DSPs is all part of what they pay you to get the beat and all that kind of stuff. included, and there's a do you get any money from the DSPs for the songs that they license from you? Is that in the contract or anything?
Yeah, sometimes if they if they do what they're supposed to do, they can put you down for
Featured?
50%
Yeah.
split. So I mean it depends. It depends on the, on the artist situation. So yeah, yeah.
Cool. Well, let's just finish off a little bit about this because I think this has been some really good information. Let's finish off just talking about how someone would get started with selling beats. If you were like day one and you said, I'm going to start selling beats,
Yeah.
what would you do first besides make the beats? Let's assume you've made some beats already, and I would suggest you go study all these beat makers like Othello and all these people who are out there making beats and making and they're almost not indie anymore because they're getting big, they're getting some big, like deals and things like that. But for the one beginning, what would you suggest to get started selling beats?
All right. So I already have the beats.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna set up the beat store. Make sure all that stuff is set up. Make sure
Beatstars
pricing
or a beat store on your site?
or like a Beatstars, Airbit, something like
Mm-hmm.
that. And the reason why is because they already built the infrastructure. There's
Yep.
no, I'm not going to try and do it on my site because the marketplace for that for someone who's looking for beats, they're going to go to a Beatstar. They're going to go to an Airbit.
Yep.
So use the infrastructure that's already in place for that stuff to be automated for you. And it's easy. It's easier to set up that way because it's just done. So I
Gotcha.
would go there, set that up, get my tracks, get my stems, make sure I have everything I need for that. Um, make sure branding and all that stuff is there, and make sure I have somewhere to send people. When they do ask, where can I find some of your beats or whatever. And then once I have that set up, I'm gonna test it, make sure it's working properly. So I'm gonna buy my own beats pretty much and go through the process because I want to experience what the customer's gonna experience
Yeah.
because you're gonna have customer issues and you want to be able to see every part of the journey that they're going to go on purchasing from you. So if they do have an issue, you'll know exactly where that issue is and how to resolve it from a customer service standpoint.
So in a
And
lot
then
of
once
ways, I'm sorry, go
oh
ahead.
no no you can go ahead.
In a lot of ways, this is no different than deciding to sell your songs on non-exclusive music library sites,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. Yep, it's a different customer. That's
Yeah.
all it is.
Yeah.
Yep, different customer.
Instead of someone looking for a tune for their YouTube video or their presentation, they're looking for a song to sing over or rap over or
That's it.
both.
Yep.
Cool. And so BeatStars number one, Airbit number two, and then I think there are some other ones out there too. So, right? Is that how you would look at it?
I'd say
Or
those are the top two.
yeah, only
Yeah.
ones worth fooling with.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, and then after that, I'm focusing on content. Um, I feel like everything, the purchasing process, it just starts with good quality content that gives value to the people you're trying to sell your beats to. So educate them, give them some tips, some strategies, and while also sprinkling in what you do. Again,
Hmm.
if you're not on your profile making beats or displaying your beats, no one's going to know that you make beats. So you want to put that out there in a really cool way that keeps people engaged and just start to build a community with that content and draw people in.
I've
And
seen people who like are in stock music and they stock music libraries and then they make YouTube videos of that song with just a static picture, which was what most of the beat makers seem to do. Just a
Mhm.
static picture and it plays the song, and you put that up there and then you put a lot of keywords into who this is like, and especially right in that description, right in the title, it says Meek Mill type beat or Drake type beat or whoever you're trying, because that's what people are searching for, and they're
Yeah,
going on YouTube and Google, and either place of those places they have a chance of finding your beat if you've
yeah,
put that in the title and you've put other keywords in there. And but I've seen people who in stock music try to do this, and I don't think that makes sense because people aren't out looking for those files on YouTube. They're looking for them on the library. They'll go to a Pond5 or to a Envato Elements, and they'll find. I know I do. When I look for a stock piece of video for a video, I'm going to go and just find the first thing that works, and I'm going to use it. But this is a whole different deal because you've got artists looking for that beat that moves them, that they can then rap over and then show all their friends and put on, then make all the SoundCloud and then get on Spotify and do all the things. And people are searching for that. So I think you need to be even more, if you're in the beat world, even more of a YouTuber, even if you're just putting single pictures up with your newest beat. And that's how people are going to find you. And I think it's even easier probably to find possible people rather than the whole non-exclusive library thing. I think that's harder than this.
Yeah. Because I mean, I guess I think both markets have, there's a customer that's already looking for what you have.
That's true.
The challenge is, is meeting them where they are, where are they looking for music. I did a survey there's like an email series that goes out to people who purchase beats. I did a survey asking them like, where like the top places you look for when you're searching for new music. And YouTube was like number one.
Yeah.
And then you'll see the Beatstars and Airbit marketplaces. But yeah, man, they just go to YouTube and they start searching. Like, I want something that sounds like, LMA. So, yeah, man.
Lucas says, I'm trying to sell on Beatstars, but it's very hard in any kind of genres. By the way, I've never sold a beat. And other genres besides hip hop and world music and R&B, like you said, it's less likely to get an R&B one used, but it's probably not. And when we say R&B, we could mean anything from, I don't know what, pop, soul, pop, neo soul, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But what about if you're a lo-fi producer? Any lo-fi being put out there? Again, it's got to be rapped over, right? Which, for the most part, we say.
So I'm starting to see more like lo-fi briefs now, instrumentals.
I'm talking about Beatstars.
Oh, Beatstars. Yeah, there's lo-fi stuff on there for sure. Yeah, that's
How about jazz or jazz hip hop if it was mixed or something like that?
Jazz hip hop. I'm gonna lean more Jay Dilla like style kind of beats, right?
So it's really artist based. You really need to know what kind of artist you can put up there, and people can find and say, "Ooh, yeah, that's the one I'm looking for."
Yeah, because that's artist's point of reference. Like they have their favorite artists. They know who they kind of want to mimic or sound like. So that's usually what they're gonna search by.
JMO asks, and I think she's asking you, but do you trailerize hip hop beats? Is that a good way to get placements?
Absolutely. We're asked to do. I've done trailerized hip hop stuff, trailerized R&B. Absolutely. That's like it's honestly a sort of niche as well. So yeah.
Yeah, and the big thing that I have noticed in trailers right now is old rock songs being redone as trailers. Pink Floyd for the newest at the time, I think it was, I can't remember which one, for the Flash trailer. I just heard another one. I heard an old classical tune used. I think it was Debussy's big one. I can't think of it right now, but but a lot of old rock songs. I just heard another one the other night. I put a note down about it, and they're just the new Continental, the show The Continental that's coming out on Peacock about the John Wick hotel place. They're using an old Earth, Wind and Fire song that they've trailerized, and
crazy.
That seems to be really popular right now. So if you like to remake older songs, that's another trailer kind of vibe right now, and I'm sure they're looking for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All right, last questions here. Question: have you heard of SoundClick? Any thoughts on that platform? I don't know much about it.
I haven't heard of SoundClick in years.
I think I heard about it like 20 years ago or something like
Yeah,
that.
that was like the early stages of kind of, what we see now with Beatstars and stuff. Like SoundClick was like, where a lot of people just come share their music, and then, producers started like selling their music via SoundClick. But yeah, now it's just, I don't think anybody's on there.
Cool. Well, man, I appreciate your time. I'm going to, because I got to click off my sound. I got to sound click onto another podcast here. So, but man, this is good stuff. I am going to, just so you guys know, for the podcast, I kind of make it a variety show, but I'm going to take this part about the beats and I'm going to make it into a separate video, just the conversation about the beats, because I think there's been really some great nuggets in here. I'm going to edit that up, but that won't happen until next week. But man, thank you so much for joining. Always enjoy your content. You're on my, I'm listening to podcasts from Clint on the way to work and back, because I listen to podcasts. It's like an hour drive there for me. So I'm listening to everybody's podcast. So listening to your podcast is fun. I listened to an interview with you and another guy talking about one of your more recent interviews with another composer. I can't remember which one, but it was a great conversation, and really enjoyed those. So always enjoy your work and your service to all of the people in these communities, and I know they appreciate it too. So thanks so much, man. All right, brother. We'll see you soon, and I'm going to end the podcast, folks. Thanks for being here and walking through this crazy time with Clint and I, but I think we got some good information about beats out here. And if you are interested in selling beats, then I think that you should do it. You should I think you should definitely look at what's on there and look at what people listen to. So there's podcasts and there's YouTube channels. DJ Payne's channel is a great one to listen to for this. They are really giving you some information about how to get started. And if you lean towards hip hop, this is a great extra possible income source. And we like income sources here on Make Music Income. So thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next time. And
peace.
Thanks a lot.